Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Daily Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today from the joining me today from the Deep South down in southern Georgia is Tom Knighton of Bearing Arms. Let me start to get, and I usually do this before I actually push the button to put my camera on the air, but I want to remind everybody as we get started and as I start hooking things up that you can comment on the show. We'll get your comments on the air if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube on the Polite Society podcast pages. You can comment on those videos. If you're watching us anywhere else on OpsLens or on Getter, on Rumble, go to Twitter. Or if you're watching us on Twitter, because we're live on Twitter too, go to Twitter, tweet with the hashtag #TheBullet, and we'll get your comments that way and get them on the air as well. So, and we're getting they're doing this to make me jealous, Tom. I'm telling you, we're already getting comments. This is from a Facebook user coming off a Facebook group. Says, "Hello from SHOT Show Range Day." Oh, I am jealous. Yeah, everybody is at SHOT Show except for Tom and me. And I've got a bunch of friends that are at Range Day right now. And I am jealous, and I miss going there to see my friends. So,
but what people need to understand, Paul, is we jumped on the grenade for them.
Yes, yes.
We're doing without for their benefit. It had nothing to do with the fact that I'd be on the hook for paying my own way to Las Vegas and just didn't have the money. Completely irrelevant.
Yeah, we're holding down the fort for them. Exactly.
That's right. Absolutely.
All right, well, let's go ahead and I've been dreading this all day ever since I put it in show notes. Let's go ahead and get started. First story I want to talk about is a Tom Knighton story that just posted today, but let me try to read this and you'll understand why when I get to it. The Wichita Police Department has arrested 22-year-old Kiana Nwiji and 25-year-old Marlon Jones on the charges of aggravated endangering of a child stemming from a shooting. At approximately 11:35 a.m. Thursday, officers were dispatched to a shooting. It doesn't matter. While officers were en route to the scene, Jones fled on foot to a residence in... That doesn't matter either. While officers were en route to the scene, Jones fled on foot to a residence... As officers arrived, they saw Jones walking back from the area of that residence. Officers then located Nwiji inside her residence with a gunshot wound to the foot. She was transported to a local hospital for treatment. The investigation revealed that she and Jones were both lying in bed when their 2-year-old child had gotten a hold of a gun and accidentally shot her. Jones then took the gun to the 11th Street address where an acquaintance of his lives. Investigators located the gun and located an AR-15 that belonged to nobody in the residence in the individual's house and did not know how it got there. This case will be presented to the district attorney's office in the coming weeks. Tom, what I find amazing about this one is there's an AR-15. No one owns this AR-15. It just magically showed up, and the police appears are buying it.
Yeah, I read this story on Facebook from the Wichita Police, and I was like, seriously? We don't know where the gun came from, officer. It's just in our home. It was a miracle. It's like I want to use the meme of the guy praying, Lord, I've seen what you have done for others, and I'd like for you to do that for
yes.
me. Cause guns never just mysteriously show up in my house. At least as far as my wife is concerned, yes, they do. But, as far as everyone else, no, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
The police didn't seem to question it.
It was the ATF Santa.
Yeah, because the ATF is really good about making sure 4 of us have guns.
Yeah.
And the fact that the one who wasn't shot takes off from the residence to stash the gun at a buddy's house. That's not sketchy at all.
Yeah, it's...
What I think happened is in all firearms involved were stolen guns. But because the serial number wasn't in the system, they don't know it's stolen.
Right.
A lot of people are like, they don't want to hand their number over to police when they report a gun stolen. Well, then the cops will know I have it. Well, okay, fine. But also understand when someone's found with your gun, unless they're a felon in possession, they get to keep your gun.
Yeah. And I would...
Get your gun back, sell it, get something else.
Yeah, once your gun has been stolen, if you get it back, unless it's $38,000 1911, you're probably going to want
if you got it from like Cabot Arms or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going for. I seen a Cabot Arms for $38,000 just a couple days ago on Facebook. Somebody posted a picture of it. I'm like, that is a it's a gorgeous firearm. Just simply stunningly beautiful. But I bought houses for less than that.
Yeah. If I'm going to buy something, if I'm going to buy something for that much money that has moving parts, it's going to have an engine.
Yeah. Yes.
All
right.
That's just me, though. If you've got the money, brother, if we're at the range, I'm going to ask to handle it.
Let's see here. Let me get... we're getting all kinds of check-ins and comments. Let me put a couple of them up. AFT is like asking your wife where she wants to eat and then going back to you can shoulder it, you can't shoulder it, you can again, back to you can't again. That's of course the ATF rule.
Yeah.
We're going to be getting to that ATF rule here in a little bit. Next one, also a Tom Knighton story, and he puts out that Tom Knighton. He puts out a lot of stuff. This is about that shooting in Newport News where the 6-year-old shot the teacher. Thank goodness the teacher's expected to fully recover, but. We have going from a story you quoted in your story. We have reason to believe the mother whose gun was used had not properly secured the weapon. Really? New details are revealing more about the hours leading up to the shooting. A 6-year-old boy is accused of intentionally shooting his first grade teacher. Superintendent Dr. George Parker III said the boy accused in the shooting had arrived to school late that morning. His backpack was searched after someone reported he may have a weapon. So, and they searched his backpack, and this is not the first time it's happened. Searched the backpack, gun was in backpack, gun was not found. I don't think the mom's the only one that holds responsibility here.
Oh, no. I mean, we know that the kid pulled the gun from the backpack. So the gun was in the backpack. It's not like he stuffed it down his pants because it was compact and he could get away with it even at age 6. This was in the backpack. How hard is it to find a gun in a kid's backpack? I mean, okay, a particular piece of paper in one of its backpacks, you're never going to find it. It's just not there when you look for it. You'll find it in 2 months when you go look for something else. But a gun, a different matter. doesn't look like the 50 other pages in there. How do you miss it?
Yeah. Robert wants to know who searched him. TSA?
No, in fairness, TSA finds plenty of gun-shaped objects, just not actual guns.
Yeah.
And definitely not terrorists. They've not a single terrorist. But they did find gun and a raw chicken, so, I got to give them credit for that.
That one, wow. That's almost like the women storing it in their prison pocket. That just wow,
Yeah, I remember I wrote about that one when it happened, and it was like, did they not? The raw chicken was going to get checked. There was another one just a couple of weeks ago where they tried to smuggle it in peanut butter. They broke it down and stuck it in a jar of Jif peanut butter.
And they said it's
and
just
I'm like,
extra
you think
chunky?
That's not going to look suspicious? Yeah, apparently. And, it's like, you don't think that's going to get checked? It's TSA, but they not even get away with being that stupid.
Yeah.
They have to tie their shoes in the morning, therefore they have enough brain power to go, why is this they bringing, a jar of Jif peanut butter when you can get that literally anywhere else?
Yeah. Even in communist China, I believe they've got Jif peanut butter. So
I think so, yeah.
Next one up. Again, another Tom Knighton story. I can't get away from these things. Again, quoting from the story.
Imagine how I feel.
Yeah. Quoting from the story you posted, this is the source you're posting from. Raleigh's police chief says the city is seeing more children committing crimes with guns. We're seeing that trending up, which is very disturbing, said Chief Estella Patterson. Patterson said it's a trend. Her department wants to slow down. Police say a 16-year-old fatally shot another teen on Harmony Court last week. Another teen was accused of fatally shooting 5 people in the Hendingham neighborhood in October 2022. And just last week, a teacher was reportedly shot by a 6-year-old student in Virginia. I'm with you, Tom. You wrote a little later down in your article, what do they consider children?
Because my guess is a lot of them are that 16, 17-year-old age where they're running with gangs, they're involved in gangs activity, and that's where they're getting the guns.
Yeah.
Because we've seen that. They're talking about teen homicides, and it turns out they're counting 19-year-old gangbangers as teen homicides.
Well, and theoretically, I mean, you've got to be 21-year-old to drink. In some states, they want to make 21-year-olds, 20-year-olds unable to buy guns. I'm wondering if they're not even 19 and 20-year-olds, counting them as children.
I can't. But if we give them the slight benefit of the doubt that they're defining it as under 18, and it should be noted the news story does not define it. The journalists say, "Well, how are you defining children?" Which means you're justified in assuming the standard definition, someone under the age of 18. Well, there's a lot of people under the age of 18 that are involved in gang activity, that are involved in criminal activity, that are obtaining guns illegally through their own theft or buying them on the black market or being handed to them by a member of the gang they're running with. This happens in every decent-sized city in the country. My hometown is around 60,000 people. It happens here all the time. Raleigh's bigger. I have no doubt that they have this regularly. And when you look at the raw numbers for a community that size, it doesn't really feel that surprising if you think, well, how many gang members are there under the age of 18?
Yeah, absolutely. Robert had the same idea I did. 19-year-old children. You know what? I'm going to say this, and when I was 19, 20, 21, on up to about 30, I still would consider myself a kid. I was making some not so smart decisions, and
yeah, when I was 19, I made a dumb decision in the Navy.
Yeah,
that was pretty bad.
Well, wasn't one of those decisions joining the Navy? I mean,
Well, yeah, that was the one.
okay,
But and depending on how I feel at the moment, whether it was a good decision, bad decision, it was a little bit of both.
okay.
Great for me. Now I'm proud I did it, but at the time, that sucked.
You mean it
Age
wasn't
19, I was
it
in boot
wasn't
camp.
all like the Village People song?
No, no, and I thought Uncle Sam's Yacht Club was going to have like, sailing boats and pretty girls and short skirts, and no,
Didn't turn
none of
out
that.
that way, huh?
So disappointed.
All right. Let's see here. We're doing pretty good on time, but and by the way, today is going to have to be a little bit of a shorter show because I've got to turn this around and get ready for Polite Society here in just a little bit. This one is not a Tom Knighton story. I don't know if you've written about the ATF stabilizer. I didn't see it in your rundown of stories that I pulled up on Bearing Arms, but I do have two stories here. First one off of Breitbart.com, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Stabilizer brace rule was finalized on January 13th. Yeah, and it portends the registration of millions of guns. Breitbart News reported the announcement of the finalized rule, noting the owners said braces will have 120 days to register them once the rule is published in the Federal Register. At the low end of the spectrum, NPR notes officials estimated about 3 million stabilizing braces are currently in circulation in the U.S. At the higher end of the spectrum, Congressional Research Service suggested there were already between 10 and 40 million stabilizer braces by April 19th, 2021. And Breitbart News noted the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit struck down ATF's bump stock ban, which is essentially the same thing, on January 6th. So, and I'm going to jump down. I got a story on WFAA. No, I'm sorry. That's wrong. We'll probably come back to this. That next story off WFAA is a different thing entirely. Tom, this pistol brace rule is a lot like the bump stock ban. They just said it's illegal because we said it's illegal. Congress didn't do anything about it. Just
Yeah,
AFT.
and honestly, I did touch on it a little bit earlier. What's hilarious to me about this is that they're like, okay, well, these are your options. You have to register the gun, or you have to put a longer barrel on it and a prop. You have to do all these things. And I'm sitting here going, the bad actors will just slap a regular brace on it and not worry anymore. They're not going to trip over themselves to comply with the law. In fact, a lot of people who are not what I would normally term bad actors aren't going to do anything with it either. There's no registration. It's just like the bump stocks. I guarantee you, there's still tens of thousands of bump stocks in private hands,
If
right
not
now.
more.
If not more, right? And the only reason I'm saying tens of thousands is I don't think these were as popular as the pistol braces are. I don't think bump stocks were nearly as popular. They were a novelty for a lot of people, but a pistol brace was a different matter because at one time you could shoulder an AR-15 with a pistol brace. Then you couldn't. Then you could, like was mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And it's so a lot of people bought them, saying, okay, I can do this lawfully. I can possess this lawfully. And right now the ATF says I can. And if they say I can't, well, what they don't know will hurt me. Because possession was perfectly legal. I think the estimates are probably 10 to 40 million, probably pretty accurate, and most of those are not being modified. At most, someone will, take off the short barrel receiver, slap on a upper receiver, slap on a full size upper.
Yeah, with a
And
16-inch
put a
barrel, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe get a pistol lower and throw it together and go, well, no, that doesn't have a pistol brace. That's just a pistol AR.
Yeah.
Which are still, they haven't regulated away yet.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is one of those things with, when you look at Bruin, for example, there's no way this survives a Bruin.
No.
There's just no way. You cannot show me any law from the 18th or early 19th centuries showing that there were restrictions on the length of your firearm. I mean, honestly, with the stuff that the ATF has been doing over the last few years, it almost makes me wonder how many people at the ATF are hoping all this stuff gets overturned by the courts permanently so it ends discussion. I wouldn't do anything wrong. I wouldn't do anything differently if that were my goals, what I'm saying. I don't know that many ATF agents are actually wanting that, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen.
Well, and this also, going back to your discussion of Bruin, I honestly believe that is the reason we are going to, in the course of time, we're going to get full autos back. And it's not just going to be full autos before 1986. And it's going to be, if you want to build one, you can build one. And I don't think you're going to need to go to the government and say, here's my $200, mother may I. I don't think that's going to be in there either in the course of time.
Well, I mean, we had a ruling come out of West Virginia about gun serial numbers. That laws prohibiting having a gun with a defaced serial number, which has been illegal for decades.
Since the 70s, came out and said, no,
keep that under the Bruin. Yeah, something like that at least. And they're like, nope, based on Bruin, you can't do that. And my first response was, oh, this is bad. Because of stolen guns, I can't get my gun back if it's stolen, if someone destroys the serial number. But under Bruin, that's absolutely correct. And I'll take that. I'm fine with that if that's what it takes to keep my rights.
Yeah. I do want one more story that's, we got a couple more stories. The first story, again, that's not a Tom Knighton story that I want to talk to you about. In Texas, State Senator Roland Gutierrez returns to Austin for his second term in the Texas Senate. His mission is as focused as ever, helping families in Uvalde continue to recover from the massacre at Robb Elementary. And reforming Texas gun laws will be his number one priority during his first legislative session since the tragedy. Not one parent in Uvalde is asking for anybody's guns to be taken away. We're asking for a small law change to not allow an 18-year-old to have access to a militarized weapon until they're 21. It's common sense, the San Antonio Democrat told us on Inside Texas Politics. Senator Gutierrez, that was Texas law until the Fifth Circuit shot it down as unconstitutional. So
and even what he's saying, that they're not asking for anyone's gun to be taken. Well, what about people between ages of 18 and 20, people under 21 but over 18 that already have these guns? You're saying they shouldn't have access. That sounds like guns.
Yeah.
It's on the face. Even if without the Fifth Circuit decision you mentioned, even if you take that away from the discussion entirely, he's clearly not being honest with what he's saying. Because we know definitively, if you're saying these people shouldn't have access to guns, the natural progression is then we take away guns from people who already have them. That's gun confiscation. Sorry, I don't make the rules.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's inane. It's absolutely inane. And the truth of the matter is, the parents in Uvalde, yes, they are very distraught. I cannot even begin to imagine what they've been going through since this happened. I can't. I've lost family members. I've lost people to I lost a good friend to a mass shooting. I know what that was like, but it was a friend, not my child. Different. That said, these are people who are upset. We don't determine law based on people's emotions.
Yeah,
What's
and you
right and
can't.
what's wrong is irrelevant.
Yeah,
You know,
you can't
this guy
do
would have
your.
gotten a gun. Yeah, go ahead.
You cannot make laws based on emotion. It just does not work. Let me get
No,
a comment
and this
in.
guy, there's okay. Well, just while you're doing that, I'm just going to say there's no reason to believe this guy wouldn't have found a way to get a gun otherwise.
Oh yeah, absolutely. George says common sense would be cops doing their jobs while the kids are being murdered, when the kids are being murdered.
Absolutely,
I seen a story this
absolutely.
week. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but I seen a story this week where the police chief at the time the massacre was, and the guy in charge of the response, the guy at the time the bad person was murdering kids, while the shooting was still going on, decided it was more important to evacuate the rest of the school rather than send people in to stop what was going on in that room.
Yeah, yeah. I wrote about that one last week, and it was just. I get a certain amount of we don't don't want collateral damage, but you did not need your entire police force to do that. Teachers and principals could have evacuated most of them. You should have breached. He should have breached, gone in there. There, unfortunately, we're already dead. There's no way around that at that point. We know that, unfortunately. Could more have been hurt doing that? Sure. Some kids might have gotten hurt in the process of that. In the long run, it would have saved lives. And it's standard procedure. Since Columbine, it has been the standard procedure for an active shooter situation to go in after the shooter. In Columbine, they didn't. They treated it like a hostage situation, which in their defense was what they were used to at that time.
Yeah.
And two of the worst school shootings we've seen since Columbine, right? At American high schools, Parkland and Uvalde, both involved officers arriving on scene and not going in.
Yep.
You cannot come to me and say, give me your AR-15 because people aren't safe, when you can't even tell me when the problem is the police not doing their job the way they were trained and taught to do it.
Yep. I wish the Border Patrol officer that went in, that had to borrow a shotgun to go in and stop this, I wish he'd have had an AR-15 on him at that time. Better tool. So let me get another comment in here real quick.
If not an actual M4.
Yeah. Did you hear about the case in New York about the Good Samaritan? I did. It will be we'll be talking about it on Polite Society in about 30 minutes. We have DGUs there, a defensive gun use segment specifically, and that will be, I know because I put it there, that will be in that DGU segment. Yeah, New York, a bystander stops a guy who'd slashed the face of a counter work person. He was trying to rob the place, slashes the face of the person working there. Bystander with a concealed carry permit stops the crime in its tracks, holds the guy at gunpoint for the police to arrive, and never had to fire a shot.
And here's the thing, defensive gun use anti-gunners love, that one will never show up.
Yeah, no shots were fired.
He wasn't hurt. No shots were fired. No, the bad guy wasn't injured. And so if the way they like to compile numbers and go, see, this, defensive gun uses aren't that common. And there's a lot of cases like this where good guy just presents the gun, the attack stops.
Yep.
A lot of times they hold them at gunpoint. A lot of times they just scare them off. But this doesn't show up in these and the statistics that a lot of groups like Everytown and Giffords love to use.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Last thing on our way out the door, I want you to, if you would, plug your articles over at Bearing Arms and anything else you want to talk about today, man.
Sure. I got lots of stuff coming up tomorrow for Bearing Arms. I don't even know what all I'm going to have yet. I'll look at some stuff in the morning. Got some stuff lined up already. You can also find me over on Substack. It's tomknighton.substack.com. Come over, check it out. I also write a bunch of stuff over at Base Politics.
All right.
Base-politics.com.
Very cool. Tom, thank you, man, for holding down the fort with me by, for making the sacrifice of not going to SHOT Show. I appreciate it, man.
I got you. You know I got you back.
Everybody, do please
Not like that other Tom.
Yeah.
It's on other Mondays.
Yeah, I think he may have been the one at Range Day that was checking in. So,
yeah, he was.
Anyway, we're going to step aside. I got to step aside. I got to get this turned around. I got to do Polite Society in 30 minutes. And I've got a whole bunch of software work to do before that happens. So please come back and join us. And until then, everybody, thanks, and we'll see